You've landed at the 13 Moons Women's Temple podcast with your hosts, Sam and Leela.
That's joining. We're going to do a nice little report this evening for the Moon Diaries, for the space weather for the week, and so that we can start to calibrate our week to what's happening with the stars. All right, here's Sam.
Okay, well, here we are in another wonderful week and heading towards a new moon already. So, shall we just sit for a moment and just breathe?
Yes, that sounds nice.
Let's maybe just take our hands to our hearts and perhaps just take a moment to maybe take the first conscious breath of your afternoon. And then take another just to allow that first breath to settle. And then the third breath, let's just take it in and then just deeply sigh it out. And just pause for a moment in gratitude for whatever has enabled you to be able to take a few moments to listen to this or to pause. Perhaps it's an opportunity that you can take to sit down or look out the window, or indeed sit outside if you're listening to this tomorrow under the sun and just feel the energy of this sun on your face. So just find gratitude for something in this moment. And then inhale and exhale and stretch.
Oh, wonderful.
My candle is... Okay. Well, here we are. 25th. Zooming through the year.
Yeah, right. We're here. We've arrived in Leo season. That has come around very fast.
I think so. I think it's interesting to think that we're sort of moving to the shift. Someone was saying to me, it's just like one more month of winter. It's not, and it won't even be a full month. You can feel the difference already. In fact, my daughter was just commenting yesterday on the fact that the evenings are getting lighter, and so in that subtle shift here, and of course it's actually very subtle here, I find, in Queensland. So we do have to be aware, but there is that subtle shift that yes, the evenings are actually getting a bit lighter, and so in that we can see that this next part of the year is coming. Which is interesting.
Yeah, we are. We're in a transition point, so the energy is shifting. We're coming out of that hibernation, waking up, starting to go, oh, okay, now what? And and that might come with some resistance. I feel like I'm not ready to leave winter behind, but anyway.
No, and I don't think there's much need to just now. I think, I was really reflecting because obviously my daughter's in the UK, and the difference in the weather from the UK to here, and that, sort of Cancer and Leo time in the UK is just that full summer. And so it's really getting out there, and, she's talking about going to the Lido and the outdoor swimming pool and doing all these types of things, whereas we're thinking of coming in. So it's kind of that switch of the Leo energy, or where we will talk about Leo, but that that switch of the energy where that exuberant nature, that getting out there is one thing, but it can also be about I don't know, I was thinking about candles and fires in the home, and that sort of hearty energy, which is really quite nice, which is kind of the opposite shift to what we experience in the northern hemisphere. It's just slightly, and I think it's really good to be aware of that, especially if you grew up here, then you've always known it like this. But it is interesting, so many people have sort of come from different places and are observing it. So it's, how does that Leo season play out here in the southern hemisphere? And yeah, we're still feeling, even though Leo is a kind of sort of sign, we're still feeling that desire to be inward, which I think is lovely with what we're going to talk about this week, because really that does just embody that sense of mothering, which is one of the themes we really want to, and that mothering ourselves and our families starts at home. So it's kind of, we should stoke our fires, you know.
Yes.
Be the fire in your fireplace, or even just the agni in your belly, but thinking about stoking that fire a bit more, nourishing a bit more. Those types of things are really important for us here, so that we can actually be well rested and ready for spring.
Yeah, completely, because we're all going to have our own food gardens and have our own crops this spring, this and moving into the future.
Before it's too outside in the beautiful winter sun, and turn an area of soil over to be your garden bed.
Yeah, I actually went out and bought a whole bunch of herbs yesterday. Actually, that's not fair. I didn't buy them. I asked my husband to buy them because he was at the shops. I said, can you please pick me up some rosemary, some lavender and some sage so I can plant them and just get that herb garden going. Which is a massive influence from the retreat last week we were talking about. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to getting out there and just getting into that. And we noticed, you know, our cherry, no, not our cherry tree, what's it, the peach tree's blossoming already. It's like, wow. Anyway, it's a really nice time of year. So this week, yeah, if your moon is in Taurus, Cancer, Leo or Virgo, you're going to have a moon birthday this week. So check that out in your chart, and gosh, they come around quick. I feel like, yeah, because I'm a Leo moon, and so this weekend it'll be my on Saturday will be my moon birthday. And then, so let's just look at the major themes for this week. It's a pretty extraordinary astrological week. Some of the major themes just to be aware of, ultimately, as far as the moon is concerned, we're in the waning balsamic phase right now. So we're in that phase of the moon where the energy is coming into surrender, recharge, restore. As we go through the daily aspects, you know, we'll be going into the dark of the moon later this week. So important time that, you know, if it does start to feel all overwhelming or all too much, that we need to be factoring in these days of the dark of the moon to really set some space around ourselves. And then this week is one of the biggest and most important astrological aspects of the year, which most, if not all, astrologers are talking about, which is this triple conjunction of Uranus, Mars and the North Node in Taurus. And we're going to go right into that as we go through the week, or through talking about this week. So shall we start with today?
Yes. Well, there's not much to say about today, but today was Gemini. I don't think anyone had a moon birthday in Taurus this week, so it was last week, but they'll have been in Gemini. So yeah. But which is nice. But it's nice that you were trying. We weren't here last week, so that's why we missed those people. So
that's what it was. Yeah.
We missed you. We're really sorry, and remember, we will remember you next month. We promise. But today, if you're a Gemini, then you will be happy moon birthday. So no, nothing that we're going to really talk about for today. I think mainly today's a moon day. It's in Gemini. Could have been a bit heady. Maybe you spent the day just having a little bit of chitter chatter to yourself, or maybe some good time gossiping with some others. It would have been that kind of day, really. That's generally what we experience on those Gemini days. Some mental stuff going on. Do you want to say anything else about today?
Not particularly. I mean, the day is, you know, almost done, really. And so by this stage, yeah, no. And I actually think that, you know, that it wasn't a particularly massive day astrologically, and nor is Tuesday. So
no, I think we might be, I don't know, what time is it now? Oh, we're very close to void of course, actually, which is quite nice. So we're about to go into a void of course in about 15 minutes. And we're then going to be void of course until 3 a.m. So, so it's quite a good night just to be and not get too caught up in anything, actually. So that's nice. So we should be able to get a good early night's sleep and not have too much going on, which is nice. Yeah, so that's this evening. And then tomorrow, tomorrow we have that shift, and at 3:54 in the morning we move into that Cancer energy. So so that's nice.
yeah, so with the moon moving into Cancer, this is where we're starting to activate, you know, this mother energy. And there's a big Cancerian influence this week, because with the moon moving into Cancer on Tuesday, then there's not particularly too much else happening on Tuesday, except to say that it's a Mars day. So you might feel energized, you might feel activated, you might feel like your week begins on Tuesday. But then moving through to Wednesday is the Venus gateway. And this particular Venus gateway we're in the descending gateways, and this gateway is activating at the root chakra. And this is also influenced by Cancer as well. And so this gateway activation is going to last for the next whole moon cycle. And it's the last chakra activation before Venus descends into the underworld for a number. So Venus has been, over the last 7 months, has been the morning star, and after this current moon cycle, she'll then descend into the underworld. We won't see her for a couple of nights, and then Venus reappears as the evening star, and we start the activation coming back up the chakras. But for the time being, we've got this really we've got the activation of the base chakra, which is all about basic needs. It's about security. It's about your personal sense of groundedness and stillness. It's like, what is your place in the world? And, you know, Sam, you talk a lot about, you know, this being the base chakra is created by the mother. And it's just really interesting that that is happening in this Cancerian sign, which is all about our home and our sensitivity and our nurturing. And where is it that you're going to need to do that? Because with the aspects that are coming up the rest of this week, our base chakras are really, you know, have the potential to be really quite rocked or activated or flawed or even pulled out from underneath us.
Yeah, so I think, you know, in terms of thinking about what the Venus gateway, you know, is doing, because of the way that we're going down, it's really that when we look at this root chakra, so if we think about from a woman's point of view, this is the place in which we birth life. And so we can see that actually this could be a sense of, you know, life or birth. But in this case, really, it feels like this could be a time when we experience some kind of end or death, or point where there is, yeah, an interesting moment of realization. And exactly that, I believe that the base chakra is formed by the mother, and therefore is all about our base needs, our survival needs that we find through the mother, or is given through the mother. So in this Venus gateway, it's almost going to be, and I think it makes much more sense when we look at the astrology for later in the week, but it's really what are our basic needs right now? Are they being fulfilled? And actually, what can we do as women to start to support the base needs of ourselves, our homes, and our communities? And this starts to play out when we look at coming into a new moon in Leo, and where it is that we're being called to come into leadership, as well as actually just thinking, because Leela was saying as well that there is still, you know, we've been talking about the whole way through these Venus gates, there's an activation of Black Moon Lilith here. So there is likely, I mean, it's likely that we see some stuff happening in America again. It's likely that that stuff is going to come up around abortion, around women's rights, around those types of things. But it's also likely that we think that there could be even more base needs, things about food shortages, stuff like that could be coming out around this. And so it's, I think that an important aspect is thinking is survival, and then also thinking about belonging. And how is that playing out for you right now? And so just feeling into the next couple of mornings, just where it is that you're feeling a sense of just, I'm needing to survive right now. And if it's not survival that is an issue, do you feel like you belong? Are you allowing yourself to belong? And how is it feeling? Where is it that you can work on that, or, you know, that might be activated for you? So I feel I think we'll come back to this when we talk about the conjunction, because then it will make more sense rather than going into it all now. One of the things that I've written down here is this thing I saw today about, you know, the activation of the matriarchy. And I feel this is what we're being called to. Actually, it is time for us as women to activate in a sense of matriarchy. And by that I mean, if you think about it in a very simple term, it doesn't matter how this applies to you, whether it applies to you from being a mother of a large family, or running your home, working somewhere and looking after certain people, or just supporting people through the business that you do, as like a therapist, or even a yoga teacher. The point is, we need to step up in our role as matriarchs, and in that we need to start really demanding that women are respected for the roles that they play out, because our society is suffering because that role is not being respected. And as such, it's being, it's like being offloaded. It's like, okay, I've got to do something better than raise my children. I've got to do something better than be at home and cook home baked foods. I've got to do something better than support my partner. I have to do something better than that, rather than seeing that as being bloody amazing. And it actually just has to stop. And I don't know, but I really feel the energy that we're coming into, there are going to be a number of things that are actually just going to tell everyone, okay, I mean, I don't know, it could be, like during, it just came to me, it's during, I hope this is not happening, and I'm sure it won't, but during the wars, if you remember, it was so important for people to have gardens, so important for people to be cooking homemade food, so important for people to be doing those things and working in communities, and we had to have all our food rations so we were all sharing it properly. And I don't know, there's this element to me that says perhaps we're going to have something happen that means that we need to think about those things a bit more, which is a good thing, but you know what I'm trying to say. It's
well,
hard.
it is, because we've been, it is really hard, because we've become so accustomed to convenience. We have become so accustomed to having anything and everything available to us. And that is not a dark agenda that has, you know, convenience is not, you know, something negative. It's just that it was done unconsciously. We have driven the Western world to where it is unconsciously. And so now it's like, I can't get my deodorant. And it's the end of the world. Sam's trying to get a new computer and it's going to take weeks. And that's challenging for us because we're just so used to having these absolutely everything at our fingertips, no matter what. And then COVID comes along and, you know, and we don't even need to leave the house to get it. We could just order it online and someone would drop it off at the doorstep. And that is going to, we're going to start to see that come undone. And depending on how graceful you are about recognizing that we've just become so overindulgent with convenience that it seems like it's hard work to go back to, you know, these old-fashioned ways. But in actual fact, that is going to serve us so much more in our health and our well-being and our happiness and our freedom.
I think it's, you know, one of the things that just came up as you were talking for me is, you know, is dependency, which again, yeah, it's like we've become addicted to this. We've become addicted to this way of life. It's fed into everything we do. Like you said, it's having everything just handed to us. We consume so much that we've actually become unaware of what it is that we're even consuming. It's just, it is at every level. If we go back to what we always do, really, which is the time that we're coming into, the Aquarian age that we're moving into, it is this state of cold depression where we're actually just zombies. We're just walking around consuming, unaware. And not all of us are doing this, but then again, you know, even like yesterday, like I said, you know, I walked into the shopping center, I walked into Apple, I expected to just be able to get this computer and walk out again. And it's a shock when I can't do something like that, because I'm dependent on something like technology, which you have to just start asking yourself, how's that happened? And what does it mean? I mean, actually, you know, I've been fine because I found other devices. It's just like, you know, and you just, actually, in itself, it just actually makes me, you know, of course we can't, you know, we can't take away how much technology helps in certain situations and how much it would help certain people. But at the same time, we have to ask, you know, it's this dependency and consumerism that is just ruling the roost. And in that, it's also, as a result of that, it means that our necessity to go out and create wealth has increased so that we can keep consuming and keep being dependent. And as such, that just rises the demand of women not being able to be at home comfortably with their children. And so in that is part of that whole industrial consumerist loop. And I know it's interesting. I don't know the answers yet. And I feel like none of us need to come up with the answers right now. I just feel that ultimately for me, when I sit down and think, what do I think will make me most happy at the moment? One of the things is to be in my garden. I just keep having this like, just grow some things and spend more time in the garden and just slow everything down. And I know that I saw something saying that, you know, everyone is exhausted at the moment. We're exhausted from the pandemic. We're exhausted from COVID. We're exhausted from being worried. And so I can't think of anything better than just being able to find ways that we can nurture ourselves. In nature is always better, of course. And it's very that where I live, and I'm always incredibly grateful for the place in which I live, which means that it affords me the opportunity to walk out into nature at any moment that I want. But we also have to find those places where we are. They're the challenges, and some of us will face, I think that's what's important. Yeah, absolutely. You know, we're all going to face different challenges this week. It's not that any will be, you know, worse or better. It's just that we're all going to face our own independent challenges, and then there's going to be a collective challenge. And ultimately, well, let's get there in a minute. Let's go to this, you know, Thursday.
Well, actually, before we just jump to that, it's important to note that also on Wednesday, aside from the Venus Gateway activation, which will happen at dawn, Mercury is square Mars. So Mercury, the planet of communication, Mars, the god of war, means that arguments and disagreements and complete miscommunication is really possible here on Wednesday. So just a good time to be really mindful about what you're getting fired up about, what it is that you just want to about, and how that might actually translate.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. I think it could be around, you know, what we're talking about here. We can all go, yeah, I really want that. I want to be more like that. I want to be able to shift my focus. I want to spend more time at home. I want to be more nurturing as a mother. I want to be more nurturing as a partner and to myself. And yet that is just such a lot to cope with. That's going to be part of that too. That kind of like, and someone will just say, well, just do it. And then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
I've written this note down. Yeah. We're all navigating change that nobody necessarily wants.
Yeah, that's right.
But we probably need. So yeah, pay attention to that on Wednesday, and then let's get into Thursday.
Where are your triggers is the key. Like, what is the thing that triggers you, and how does that play out in your relationships? Because other people are going to, all the internet, whatever it is, something's going to trigger you around it. So that's interesting. Okay, so Thursday. Still in, and it's a Jupiter day.
Yes. And so Mercury will now come to trine Chiron.
Yeah.
Chiron is the wounded healer. So what's magic about this is that that very fiery, communicative day on Wednesday can start to be soothed and healed the very next day. So whatever it is that might transpire on Wednesday, just know that Thursday is the day where we can start to bring some healing to our language, healing to our communication, healing to that which it is that you've sort of started to activate or get going, or that has been going on for some time that you maybe need to deal with. If you've got a relationship or an aspect of a relationship with somebody that needs some healing, Thursday is going to be a really beautiful day to do that.
And Jupiter will expand that. So that's really nice with the Jupiter energy of a Thursday. So we can really, really think about that. Or think about some conversations that you've had that you actually want to. Yeah, I think Thursday will be a good day to process through those conversations that maybe have caused some sadness in you, or have actually made you feel like your base chakra has kind of been taken out. There'll be certain things that sometimes people say and they just take you down. And so Thursday might be a good day to just be able to find what it is that you need to recover from that, to heal from that, and to give yourself back those base needs again. Probably a good day to chat to your mum.
Yes. It's also the dark of the moon on Thursday. Oh, what was that, Sam? I missed it.
Oh, I just said it's just make a note to talk to your mum on Thursday.
Yes, phone mum. It's the dark of the moon as well on Thursday. So just remembering that around the dark of the moon, a really beautiful time for you to be with you, have a bath, go out into the garden, just be very, very gentle with yourself. It's where we become the most, we can become quite psychic, quite intuitive. You might start to get some downloads. Might be a really cool day where, you're thinking about someone, you're contemplating all of, you know, that we're talking about now, and they might just out of the blue call you. So those channels are open when we go into that highly psychic realm of the dark of the moon.
I think as well, you know, for me, I always think the dark of the moon is a time when I can get very dark. And it's really good for me just to take note of this. I really struggle. It's also the time when I sort of tend to be, I'm like waiting for my bleed to come. And so I think I'm really sensitive around this time. And so I think these are things that you can really start to take notice of that really help you just to notice where you are responding, especially with the Mercury influences this week, where it is that you might actually be taking things really personally because of these aspects like the new moon and the dark of the moon coming. And so as women, we are really affected, and we've got Cancer there in the dark of the moon. So it will feel really emotional and could altogether be quite a weepy couple of days, I think. So if that's you, if you like me are coming up to your bleed and it's the dark of the moon, just be aware that you're going to be hypersensitive. So I always just try and make a note or just say something to people around my home that that's happening. And then it just affords me a little bit of a bumper. Just I can just go, oh, it's probably because of this. But I do get really, and I can end up, my mind can go off, you know, and I struggle with that a lot, that things that are small become big. And that's particular on this day because it's the dark of the moon, it's in Cancer, and Thursday is a Jupiter expansive day. So I feel it would be a day that I'm putting a little star and a big heart saying, just be careful, look after myself that day. I think these are just important things we can do for ourselves as we go through, and that's how we use the month, and that's how we start to plan where our cycle is in accordance to the moon to help us and support us, because it is really helpful. Okay, so then on Friday we have the new moon in Leo, and so that's Leela's moon birthday, so that's exciting. It's actually the new moon at 3:55 a.m. That's nice because it's the last day of Tertial Kriya on Friday. And so we will sit in the energy. I think it's really powerful. So we're going to sit in the energy of this new moon, literally like an hour, just an hour and a quarter after it's been the new moon, and actually work on a beautiful self-healing meditation. So that's really, really awesome and pretty good for the collective. So we're doing our bit there. Yeah, so new moon in Leo. Let's talk about some good things to do with that.
Well, yes. I mean, if you know a Leo, they're pretty fun people. And Leo has got a gorgeous energy. Leos like to, they love to be loved. You know, the energy of Leo is very heart opening. The lion, I love this. So the lion, there's like a myth that there is a species of lion beings that are sixth, seventh dimensional beings, and their frequency is so high and so pure of love that they can't really descend to the third dimension because it's too heavy. You know, the complexity of the emotion for these beings is just it's just too much for their and when you sort of find yourself around one of these beings, you are just blasted open with the most compassionate, loyal, loving energy that just elevates. And that's a really beautiful quality of Leo. It is quite an elevating sign, and lovely that the new moon occurs on Venus Day, which is that day of romance and love and self-care. So Leo's also got, you know, quite a, it's very loyal. So you think about the lion, and the lion is a pack animal. And so this is about community. This is about tribe. This is about honoring the dynamics of your community and your place in it, because everyone has a place in their tribe, a very important place. Otherwise the tribe would not be complete. And so it's, you know, it's a time, and we'll probably do some processing around this in the moon circle, the new moon circle. What is your place in your tribe? What is your place in your community? What is your place in your home? And how can you be stepping into that role with more, or with royal courage, with that this is my role and I'm going to fully and completely embody it, because when I do, I will be the happiest, and that's going to have such a positive impact on those around me. So that's what I think's good about this new moon.
Yeah, and actually what, when you talk about the lion beings, is this. That's the feline energy. So I actually have not hung out with lions apart from in the zoo, but I have hung out with my cats. And we know cats can behave quite similar to lions. So what occurred to me when you were talking about that is the reason that those lions in that mythology are of that status is because they are so clear on their values and their boundaries. So cats hold incredibly strong values. I don't know if they're strong values, but they definitely have strong boundaries. They do not do what they don't want to do. And actually, it is only what we know through the work of Brené Brown, or we don't know, but that's what she's told us, and it seems to make a lot of sense, is that if we have strong boundaries, it's only strong boundary people that are actually compassionate, because they don't become resentful. And that's why those lions in that mythology actually can't come down to the third dimension, because actually they have transgressed into a state of all-encompassing compassion through actually being able to wholeheartedly speak their truth without fear, because it's through their strong boundaries. They are so truthful to themselves that they have no fear to be truthful to others, which creates a strong boundary that is respected either way. And that brings about ultimate compassion. We all like to kid ourselves that saying to someone a little white lie to get out of something is okay. It's not. It's the ultimate act of, you know, I don't know what the word is, but it's an indiscrepancy in our sense of self, in our boundaries. We should just be able to say lovingly, I can't come because I'm actually exhausted. And the other should go, wow, I really respect you, and being able to say that. And it lands like that. And that's part of the regalness, that I can speak my truth without fear of the other. Anyway, that just sort of a little download came to me as you were talking there, because that's what it is. And it is this, yeah. And that's what this new moon is going to teach us. And it makes perfect sense to me now in conjunction with the Venus Gateway and the other thing that's happening. Can I tell you the other thing that's just really cool? Okay, so do you know, we were said, this is another download that's just happened because I decided to open a book and it said something that's just, so, now we said gateway is the root chakra. Well, Leo connects to the crown chakra. So, in that, what you've got this week is, yeah, anyway, that I found that pretty awesome. You've got, yeah, exactly. And so what do we know? If we think about all that I've just said, that's going to come from the heart. What we've actually got to do, what we were talking about with the Venus chakra, is we've got to get our base chakra sorted. We've actually got to deal with the yucky stuff that comes through the communication that Mercury is going to bring up. We're going to have to deal with our apana. I'm going to do some crying. Some other people might do pooing, but ultimately we've got to apana stuff out, okay? And in that, we're going to have those conversations. That's apana. We apana out the stuff that we haven't been able to say. And then through that heart space, we enter into, like we were saying, we start to find ourselves moving through Thursday in this Cancer energy. Like Leela said, get out into nature, get that prana, start moving that stuff within you. You're going to be able to start elevating your energy back up to the crown, so you can have that connection to divinity, or to universal source, or to cosmic energy, whatever it is that you want to connect to, or just your truth. And from there, if we can balance the top and the bottom by deepening that connection to our heart, which, as Leela said, is the seat of this Leo energy, that's going to be it. But I feel like that thing in itself, thinking Leo is connected to the crown chakra and this Venus gateway is connected to the root chakra.
Yeah, well, I think that's it. And this is this week there is a like a divine opportunity for you to really create a touchstone for your spiritual alignment or your spirit. You might get really clear this week on what it is that you are doing with your spirituality. And that does not mean you need to throw off all the black clothes and go start dressing in white and start doing crazy stuff, you know.
Or dress black.
Or throw the white off and dress in black. Yeah. We don't need to make any massive changes. It is just about becoming so honest with yourself about what it is that you desire. It is not about following any religious dogma or any rules or any commandments. It's not about that. It's about there is likely to be a really profound spiritual awakening happening, whether it's in you or we find it collectively. That means we're going to have a real, you know, propelling into the future, into the directions. And that may come when we're seeing the walls around us crumbling down, when we see the systems failing us all around us, which also can bring some pretty profound sadness and challenges and hardship for a lot of people. But if we can just remember to anchor into that heart space, remember that we're a part of a community, we're a part of a tribe, no matter where you are, just like a pack of lions, that you will be able to find the space, the time, the energy to go, right, who needs my help? If we could all just help one other person in the world would be taken care of. So I guess it's on that note that we need to start to talk about what this triple conjunction is.
I think as well, though, you know, I think importantly is when you say about spirituality, I think we have got a little bit carried away with the just before we go into it, because I think astrology can do this to us too. I think we can get carried away in the distraction of spirituality and carried away in the distraction of astrology or of other things that we read about and see about. And ultimately, we do need to just come back to what is true to us and what is here in front of us and what is. That there is no greater peace than just being with what is and fully being present in that. And a lot of the time, and that's why it will be interesting to go through this week, a lot of the time it's asking, you know, what is true for me, what is real for me, and what actually is. And they're the things that are going to support us the most. That in itself could be the most profound shift that you could experience. You could just throw everything out and come back to that. And in it, realize that all the time you potentially have been wasting, searching, is energy that you could be using right now, being with all that you actually have. Anyway, I feel like what we are being reminded of and what we're going to be reminded of is just how much we have been distracting ourselves. It's like there's been massive video screens everywhere and we have just been like small children gawping. And I think those video screens might just disappear and we're suddenly going to have to sit in this. And that's that root chakra. We're going to go, oh! And that's when maybe we'll feel something else. And bang. I don't know. Be fascinating. So there is the weekend, as Leela said right at the beginning, we have this conjunction with Uranus, Mars, and the North Node in Taurus. And basically when we think about this, so Taurus, we talked about Taurus before this year, obviously, but Taurus rules the environment, nature, morals, values, our finances, all those things, earthly things, that's Taurus. And then we've got Mars, who's all action, desire, and then Uranus, which is sudden, unexpected activities. And so within it, we could sensibly say that there could be some things happening on our planet between, can't quite remember the dates that we said, but I think ultimately it's between the 28th and the 1st of August that we're going to likely see the major effect. The 5th of August, is it? The 5th of August that we're going to see the most effects of this. And what they could be is anything on an individual scale or on a global scale, or we could be looking at, you know, as a country. One of the things that really struck me, and when I listened to Pam Gregory talk about this actually a while ago now, because she does her reports quite early, and I just heard about foot and mouth disease being in Indonesia, I immediately thought to myself, it seems to me like this is what's going to come into Australia at this time. And I hope that doesn't happen, because I was in Wales in the UK when it happened there, and it was absolutely horrific. It's one of those things, I think if you've lived through something, you know what it's about, but if you haven't, you don't really know. And so I hope it doesn't happen, but it's that type of thing that could be occurring that will affect us all, even though it's not happening to us all. Could be natural disaster. There could be many number of things that could occur. We had another couple of predictions, but we'll wait to see if they come out. Maybe we'll write them rather than say them. And so it's really things that are likely to stop us in our tracks, shift our consciousness, and propel us forward, or make us change and have a severe understanding of what we're actually doing right now. How we, you know, cause and effect. This isn't sorry, I know I'm talking, but you know, I'll give you a minute. But you know, as a toddler, this is interesting to tie it into that thing I was saying about, you know, as a toddler, if you put a cup, a beaker on a toddler's mat when they're eating, and you say, don't push the mug, the child pushes the mug because it's experiencing and learning cause and effect. So you have to say, try and keep the water in the mug, because that's the opposite. And then, it, you know, if the child can understand, but the child wants to see, that's why small children throw things off, because it's exciting. It's cause and effect. Like that, we're all behaving like toddlers at the moment. We just keep seeing cause and effect, but we're not really learning from it. We just keep making disasters and go, oh, look, we just did that, but we're not doing anything about it. And one of the things I'm just going to say is, and I think Elizabeth might be here, but I was talking to my lovely friend Elizabeth, who's on our Moon Circles, and she was telling me she listened to Marianne Williamson on Friday night in Sydney. And then I spoke to someone else whose partner went to listen to her last night. And I said that one of the biggest takeaways that Elizabeth had was that Marianne Williamson told us that we needed to stop looking for our inner child and start finding our inner adult. And what was interesting was that this other person that I spoke to said that her partner's greatest takeaway was that also. It seems like collectively we are behaving like toddlers who are experiencing cause and effect, and we actually need to grow up, which Leela did actually say a few weeks ago in conjunction with something else, but we're now really going to be smacked around the face if we don't do it. By Mother.
We're going to be smacked in the root chakra.
Mother should never do that. That's not, I just mean, you know, in a kind of, we'll be shocked by certain things, not physically actually doing that. What were you going to say?
No, that's good. Well, I just think that, you know, there's a lot of astrologers are talking about this, and there's this triple conjunction, you know, and as Sam and I were sort of going into it, and how do we feel about it, and what is, you know, we just need to look at what it is that's happening to us and where we are. And already we can see that our economy and the way that we go about our economy has been starting to get, you know, real shake-ups for the last 2.5 years, We're seeing petrol prices we've never seen before. We're seeing food prices we've never seen before. We're seeing housing shortages that we've never seen. We've seen in Queensland, we've got, you know, the building industry, the time constraints and the cost of building materials. Like, we've never seen that. And if we don't start to actually pay attention to this stuff and just go, oh, it'll be over soon, or it will blow over, we are not taking responsibility for what it is that we need to be taking responsibility for. And what Uranus is going to do in this relationship is it's going to instigate rebellion. And there's not, and I don't think this necessarily means we're going to take to the streets and start, you know, rebelling against society. I think we need, it's almost like, and maybe you said this, Sam, it's like an internal rebellion. We need to rebel against ourselves, against the way that we've been conditioned to live our modern lives, to the way that we've been conditioned to raise our children, the way that we're just putting our children through education, the way that we went through education, the way that our parents went through education. Like, we just have to start to rebel against this stuff. And it doesn't need to be noisy. It doesn't need to be loud. You do not need to get, you know, as a keyboard warrior and start preaching on social media. You just need to go, this isn't working for me. I'm going to change. And that's it.
Yeah, get off social media. Like, that's the best rebellion you could do. Get off it. And that's really easy for us to say because we're on it. But I just think that's one of the biggest things people could do is just get off it. Like, what would happen?
Well, it's the same as everyone stopped buying McDonald's. It would fold in a week. But the thing is, it's about discernment. Like, be discerning. If you know that you look forward to the Moon Diaries on Monday and Tuesday, then turn Facebook on Monday and Tuesday and check to see if the Moon Diaries is here. If you know that there are things that you like to see, take some time out of your day to go and find those things. But we don't just need to be sitting there scrolling through this news feed that is getting more and more toxic by the day and more programmed through artificial intelligence to be able to read you, to try to deliver. Like, it's a mess. And if we don't start to practice real thorough discernment around this, where we're going to stay in that distraction and we're going to miss the cue, and it's not going to work out too well. So I think that is where on Saturday, this is where this trine, this triple conjunction goes exact. It's been building, and Saturday is Saturn day. This is the disciplinary action. And so it's going to be I
think it's the Sunday.
It's on the Sunday. You're right. It's on the Sunday.
We're still feeling it from Thursday. We will feel it on the Saturday, 100%. And Saturday is going to amplify that. You're absolutely right. And if anything, you know, sometimes, like we say, it's like the dark of it. We probably will feel that. Oh, something's really coming. And so I feel like that's absolutely truthful. And I think as well, you know, when you were saying that, what really occurred to me, going back to this Leo, you know, what we were talking about there, is in order to actually practice discernment, you've got to figure out what your values are. You've got to figure out what's true to you. You've actually got to find out where it is that you're feeling called to serve in this world right now. And then you just follow that path and stop being distracted. Because as women, it's time we stop being distracted. The shiny baubles that have distracted us about how we look and what we should be doing and how we should be behaving and all those other, we just want to just bin them and actually start to listen. We've had many, this last week has been beautiful in seeing some of that, the realizations of just how much we waste time and sometimes lifetimes being caught up in stuff that is not ours. They're not even our beliefs. And it's absolutely time to shift that. And that's what we're being called to do. That is the matriarchy's role, is to say, is this true? And then if it's not, you know, and this is the best Byron Katie thing really to just understand this. If there is a sock on the floor and it is annoying you in your house, and so you want to say, you're always leaving socks on the floor, that is making me angry, that is causing me so much misery, my life is awful because you leave socks on the floor. Make a decision. It's not bothering the person who's leaving the socks on the floor. So they're going to keep doing it. If you don't like the socks being on the floor, pick them up. Because you're the one that it's bothering. So be in your own business and do what you need to do to bring yourself back into a state of harmony. It is our responsibility to look after ourselves and do what is true to us. We need to get out of other people's business, mainly via social media, and worrying about what they're doing and making us feel inadequate or making us feel we should do other stuff, and come right back into ours. And it's actually going in peace, stop using the energy, making us feel exhausted. Oh, that was a bit. It makes perfect.
I think that's it.
I've been going over this for a few days now, and it's just it, you know, and for a number of things I've just been really, processing. Some of this stuff is, it's part of what we teach, you know, in 13 moons, that we are, you know, working towards this aim of non-duality. And in the duality world, we're going to see some big duality. That non-duality and find your boundary, your passion.
Yes,
And then,
absolutely.
can't we? We can start healing each other.
My whole family just arrived in this room all at the same time.
I love that. Last week, I don't know if I'll get this in. Last week we did a meditation, and it was about the fact that there'll come a point where we won't have time to do anything but just touch the other and offer them the healing. Just think about this as you go through this week. You might not feel it's appropriate to touch the other, but just smile at the other. Yeah. Don't be so quick to pass judgment. Actually consider the other. I think that's, you know, and then in that, just think, what would I need in that moment? And try and send them that. Let's try that. That's wonderful. Practice for this week. Let's try that. Let's try and do things like buy a coffee for someone else, or pay for someone's shopping, or I don't know, they're big extravagant things, you know what I mean. Do something like that, or just send love bubbles out everywhere.
Yes. Yes, and for all of you who are on the training last week, you know how to make the love bubble, so teach someone how to do that. We might put that on YouTube.
Yeah, that was wonderful. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I feel like we made up for last week. This hasn't been an extra long report, so we got like all of our voice into this space for about an hour, which is really nice. So thank you for being here with us. Have a really beautiful, powerful week, gentle week, going into the dark of the moon. Remember that. Yeah, thank you, Dasha. Sending love bubbles back to you too. Be very gentle with yourself. Take the space that you need. Smile when you don't know what else to do. And and the other thing I was going to say is join us for the moon circle.
Exactly.
So yeah, so come and come and be with us in this moon. It will be wonderful. Sending you all so much love. It's nice to be with you here, Sam.
And to you as well, Lena. Much love.
Bye.
Satnam.
Thank you for taking the time to be with us on this podcast episode. These are sound bites and conversations about things we think are important to support the collective ascension towards more love, acceptance, hope, and harmony on the planet Earth. Together we can continue to support each other through conversations that need to be held. If you've enjoyed this episode, please do share it with your people. We would love it if you subscribe to our channel and even rate the podcast if you feel called to. You can also find us and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube and Spotify just by searching the 13 Moons Women's Temple.